want to start off with Donald Trump's interview. Did you check this out? With Barstool Sports' very own David Portnoy. If you don't know what Barstool Sports is, it's basically water cooler talk. You got a bunch of guys that do a lot of podcasts. They cover sports, and they have a lot of money. They're worth billions of dollars. It's a huge company. And say what you want about David Portnoy.
It's worth $450 million. Right?
Oh, I thought it was worth $1 billion.
No, $450.
Well, that's still a lot of money.
It is a lot of money.
But
especially where it came from.
But anyway, I've never been a big David Portnoy fan. I mean, I guess he's good at saying if pizza's good or not. He's good at that. He's good at pizza reviews. I'm not quite sure if you ask me what else is he good at. I guess he's good at self-promotion. He's good at making a name for himself. But if you ask me like what his talents are, I mean, yeah, I guess he walks into a pizza shop and he can tell whether the pizza's good or not. I mean, he's good at that.
No, he's very well spoken. He is very articulate. I would say he's a borderline brilliant orator, and he's a very intelligent marketer and business person. I mean, he built that. They were selling newspapers out of an Astro van 20 years ago, and now it's worth $450 million, and he just interviewed the president of the United States. Dave Portnoy is a very impressive business person.
Okay, well, I'll tell you what I don't think he's very impressive at. That's interviewing people. I thought it was a joke. So he interviewed Donald Trump, and like I said, I thought the interview was a complete joke. He didn't seem like he was very prepared. The questions were ridiculous. Let me start with the first question. Now, if you're sitting with the President of the United States and you only have 15 minutes with him, this wasn't like a Wallace interview where they gave him 45 minutes or an hour. They tell you how much time they're going to give you with the President way in advance. So they told him, we're going to give you 15 minutes. You're not going to get a lot of questions in 15 minutes, maybe a very small group of questions, maybe 5 or 6 questions, because Trump is pretty long-winded. So you had all that time to interview the President of the United States. And the first question that Dave Portnoy asked the President of the United States is about Ali G. If you don't know who Ali G is, he is Sacha Baron Cohen. I'm a huge fan of the show. Before there was Bruno and before there was Borat, he did those characters. But it was on a show called The Ali G Show on HBO where he did a bunch of these characters, and it was a weekly show. So Sacha Baron Cohen's playing this Ali G character, and one of the guests he was able to get on was Donald Trump. And in the scene, he's punking Donald Trump, saying, "Hey, I've got this new innovation of a glove to hold ice cream, so ice cream doesn't get in your hand." Yeah, Donald Trump knew about a minute, 2 into the interview that he was being duped, but it was still funny because he still sat there for a couple minutes and took it. This is the first question. You have the President of the United States, David Portnoy. This is the first question you ask the President. Have a listen to this.
That's right. I said, what's going on with this guy? And I just felt it was a phony deal.
Yeah.
And
nobody else did it. Nobody else smelled it out.
And he said he was from British Broadcasting Corporation. They called up with everything beautiful, the voice, this is British Broadcast. And then this guy shows up. I said, this is but within a very short, like immediately. And thank you very much. You gave me credit. Because I never get credit for anything.
I'm pretty good.
Yeah, that's really riveting stuff, David. That was a great. By the way, you didn't hear the question in there. But the question was, Mr. President, I give you so much credit because you were able to walk out of there when you knew that you were being duped by Ali G. All the things that are going on in the world right now during a pandemic and Black Lives Matter and all this other stuff. And David decides to ask him a question about Ali G.
Well, that was what we call an icebreaker. David is not from CNN or Fox or OAN. He was trying to get the president a little lighthearted and on his side. And again, the president said, and I quote, he said, after that, he said, I like this guy. I like this interview already.
I bet he did.
So it worked.
Actually,
what he did actually worked.
Okay. Well,
because then Donald Trump just, after that, it was 14 good minutes of Donald Trump was pretty much humanized.
So we're getting to that, and I disagree with you
because
it wasn't just one fluffer question. If it was, I would agree with you.
That wasn't just a fluffer question. It was an icebreaker.
Okay,
Brian.
So if that's an icebreaker, let's move on to the next question.
That's fine. Let's go.
So again, you only have 15 minutes with the president. Now you have about 13 minutes. And David Portnoy decides to ask the president about his handshaking methods. Folks, you cannot make this stuff up. Here it is.
All right, I have to ask this question because we followed. When you meet world leaders, you stick the handshake on them, and it looks like you're going for the power move. Is that intentional?
So before COVID, right now, I guess.
Right, now you can't. This is pre-COVID.
He's the one. The only one I've shaken hands with in a long time. You, because you stuck your hand out. And I'm saying, what are we doing? But I shook your hand. Yeah. You were tested?
I was tested when I came in here.
Otherwise, they'd take you out right now. Right. They'll end the interview. Right? Did you notice that? He stuck his hand out. I say, what do I do here? Rather than insult him, I said, fine.
I appreciate that.
I
don't even think.
Hey, I immediately ran, washed hands. No, but
unbelievable. Again, you have 15 minutes with the president. You ask him about the Ali G show. 5 minutes of the interview was about the Ali G show, and then the president's handshaking methods. Let's ask him about his golf swing next, David. Maybe that'd be a good interview. Let's ask him about that. So you got a third of the interview, which is just complete nonsense. David Portnoy might as well have been on his knees for 15 minutes, and it would have been probably just as good of an interview. It was the same thing. There was one point in the interview where I will give Donald Trump credit. I will not give David Portnoy any credit because I thought he did a joke of an interview. But I will give Donald Trump credit in this. He showed 5 seconds of honesty. David Portnoy asked him about his tweets. Have a listen to this.
Do you ever tweet out and be like, wake up, be like, oh man, I wish I didn't send that one out?
Often, too often.
Yeah.
You know, it used to be in the old days before this, you'd write a letter and you'd say, this letter's really bad. You put it on your desk and then you go back tomorrow and you say, oh, I'm glad I didn't send it, right? But we don't do that with Twitter, right? We put it out instantaneously. We feel great. And then you start getting phone calls. Did you really say this? I say, what's wrong with that? And you find a lot of things. You know what I find? It's not the tweets, it's the retweets that get you in trouble.
All right, here's what I will actually say this. I think the president was being honest there for about 20 seconds. I believe he does regret some things that he does. He's a very impulsive person. I can relate to that. I think he was telling the truth. Was that a fair question? Yes. David asked a fair question. Keep in mind, this interview zipped by. It was 5 or 6 minutes of BSing where David was on his knees, just kissing the ass of the president of the United States, not asking him any hard-hitting questions about the pandemic, not asking him any really hard-hitting questions about Black Lives Matter. Ali G, his handshaking message, he asked him a question about Twitter, and folks, I didn't think it could get any worse than this, but it did. You have an interview. Listen, I've interviewed a lot of famous people in my life. Not the by the way, I have interviewed Barack Obama before. I've interviewed a lot of famous people, and a lot of those famous people, you know, my parents are very fond of. They would love to be able to have a FaceTime with, some of the people that they grew up with that I've been able to interview over the years. I've interviewed Elton John. It was a short interview, but it was an interview. I've interviewed Barack Obama. I've interviewed Don Rickles. My dad loves Don Rickles. I would have loved to have been able to take my phone out and say, Mr. Rickles, and by the way, this is very recent. Mr. Rickles, could you do a quick FaceTime with my mom? But you know why I didn't do that? Because it's unprofessional, it's inappropriate, and trust me, the celebrity does not want to do it. And in this case, trust me, Donald Trump did not want to do it. You could tell by his facial expression and what he said. So listen to this audio. This is Dave Portnoy, the founder of Barstool Sports.
El Presidente is what he goes by.
At the end of the interview, towards the end of the interview, when he said, this will be my last question for you. And I thought it'd be a really good question. No, Dave asked Trump if he will FaceTime with his father. Have a listen to this.
The last thing, I'm going to wrap this up. And this, we ask for permission. You can say no if you want to do it. My dad and I have had debates forever. He's not the biggest fan of yours. What I want to do is kind of a prank. I just told he doesn't know I'm even here. But we've talked a lot. I want to call him, FaceTime him, and just he'd die if he saw that I was with you.
Go ahead. You can do it quickly, right?
Yeah, it'll take 2 seconds. He knows it's coming.
Yeah, you can do it quickly.
Yeah, quickly because the interview's about to end because he knows he has X amount of time.
It's a great question. Very appropriate. So here's how this went down.
Barstool Sports doesn't take themselves very seriously, Brian.
Then you know what? Shouldn't be interviewing the president of the United States.
Why not? They have a massive following, and Donald Trump wants to get his face and get whatever type of message he wants in front of that following.
Mm-hmm.
That's why this interview was conducted.
Well, Donald Trump
Jr., his son, actually retweeted Dave Portnoy, who has been day trading since he can't bet sports anymore for the last 3 months.
Well, Donald Trump just recently said that he doesn't have time to throw out the first pitch on August 15th, but he certainly has time to talk to David Portnoy. So let's play how
that is a safety precaution.
Let's play how this played out here because we have audio of it when he asked right after he asked Trump to FaceTime with his dad. Have a listen to this.
Hey, I got a question for you. What would you ask this guy, Dad?
I know. Trista sent me something, so I'm not shocked.
The goal was to shock. We've had a very good interview.
And you have a very talented son. Good guy.
Really?
That's all he's got.
He's honest.
All right,
you have an honest thing. You have an honest thought.
I was wondering why you were pinning me down. Mr. President, he never calls me. So
That's no good.
There it is.
That's no good.
I haven't heard from him unsolicited in a long time.
Well, there you go. You just need a meeting with the president.
What was going on, sir? I knew something was going on, and I'm not shocked, although I didn't expect to see your face just now.
It's great to see you.
Can you get him to call me a little more regularly?
I'm going to put a lot of pressure on him. He'll call you today in a little while.
Thank you. All right.
Thank you very much.
All right, Dad.
Great to meet
Thank
you.
you, sir.
That was riveting stuff. So let's review, shall we? In the 15-minute or so interview that David Portnoy had with Donald Trump, his first question was about the Ali G show being punked by Sacha Baron Cohen, followed by asking Trump about his handshake methods with different people. He asked him a question about Twitter, which, by the way, I appreciated. And then he, for the most part after that, he asked him about his dad and doing a little FaceTime. Boy, that was really I got to say, man, that was really a riveting interview.
He also asked
riveting.
He asked a very important question that we did not play, but he said, if you don't want athletes to kneel, and if you don't want the riots and the protests, what is the alternate solution?
Which he didn't have.
No, I'm just saying, but he asked that particular question. We didn't play. That was actually a very, very good, well thought out question.
We're not playing the whole interview, but you got
to give him credit for that. That's a very legitimate question.
So in a 15-minute interview with the President of the United States, he might have asked two legitimate questions, and you want me to give him credit? Are you kidding me? You have an interview with the President of the United States.
Brian, you sound like a Barstool Sports and Dave Portnoy hater right now who was jealous.
I will be honest with you.
He got that interview and you did not because you feel like you have more experience as an interviewer than he does. That's what you sound like right now.
So here's what you need to understand, JD, about what I do. And I've been doing this with you for 2 years. I'm shocked you still don't get it. When I criticize,
of course I get it.
Okay, I'm not sure you do, and I'll explain why. When I criticize somebody, it could be the President of the United States, it could be a stripper, it could be two people walking into a Walmart with Nazi. It's not because I'm jealous of them. I critique them and I criticize them for reasons that I feel what they're doing is wrong and a disservice to people. I have never been on the Barstool website before in my life. I have never listened to a Barstool podcast in my life. I think I saw one of his pizza reviews on a good show called what's that show called? The Bar Show with Tapper. What's that show called? Where he revitalizes bars? Bar Rescue. I watched the only time I've ever seen
Taffer.
Yeah,
gotcha.
Taffer. I'm sorry. Did I say Tapper?
Yeah, you said Tapper.
Jake Tapper.
I don't know he was involved in a bar show like that.
The only time I've ever seen Portnoy do anything was when he was on that show, Bar Rescue. I've never watched Barstool Sports. I could care less about it. I don't really even understand this guy. But when I saw that interview, I thought he did a disservice. There was a lot of better questions he could have asked. Clearly, he's not very good at doing those types of things. He's very good at pizza reviews, and he should probably stick to that. It's got nothing to do with jealousy. I criticize people all the time on this show. Certainly, there are some people that I am jealous of in life, but it certainly is not this guy. You can say, well, he's jealous of anybody with a ton of money. Sure, I wish I had a ton of money. But just because you have a ton of money doesn't mean that you're extremely talented at something. Some cases it does. But I wouldn't sit here and tell you I think Paris Hilton is extremely talented. She's got some people around her.
No, she isn't extremely talented at all. And
but she has a lot of money.
But she comes from an exceptional amount of money. Dave Portnoy does not come from an exceptional amount of money. He went to Michigan.
I didn't say he did.
He started he was in advertising. He started his company about 20 years ago, and he's built it into what it is today, which is a digital media. I would call it a conglomerate at this point.
I didn't say I didn't say that.
Okay.
What I'm simply saying is you don't have to be an extremely capable, intelligent person to have a lot of money. And I don't like it when people make that point. There are a lot of people out there like a Mark Cuban, for example. I have a tremendous amount of respect for him, what he's done in his life. Don't have that respect for Donald Trump, and it has nothing to do with politics. When your father hands you a $500 million company, I don't have as much respect for you as I would somebody that starts with nothing. You know, that's the way I've always been.
Do you know the job that Donald Trump started with in his father's business?
Don't care.
He was a carpenter.
Okay, well,
he started out as a carpenter.
I thought he had bone spurs. You can't do that type of manual labor with bone spurs, can you?
There's a difference between being a carpenter and enlisting in the armed forces in wartime.
Well, I know,
same
but
thing applies to
bone spurs.
The same thing applies. He was actually a very, very talented pitching prospect as well.
Yeah, he certainly looks like an athlete. I agree with you.
No, he is.
Yeah, no, he's a big athlete.
He's a good golfer. Johnny Damon told us he shot a 67.
Yeah. You don't have to be an athlete to be a professional golfer. Newsflash: have you ever heard of Craig Stadler, Lee Trevino?
You have to have pretty good hand-eye coordination.
Having eye-hand coordination, you could be a great pool player. It doesn't mean you're a wonderful athlete. I played college golf myself. Doesn't mean I was an athlete. Now, I also played college tennis. So, yes, I'd like to consider myself an athlete. But trust me, John Daly is not an athlete, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, and John Daly's one of my favorite golfers of all time. He won 2 majors.
He is an athlete. He's just not a very in-shape athlete.
I'm pretty
Doesn't
sure
mean he's not an athlete.
I'm pretty sure people would tell you John Daly is not an athlete.
Okay.
Craig Stadler,
Okay,
Lee
so
Trevino.
is Orlando Pace an athlete?
I don't know. I'm just commenting on golf.
How about William the Fridge Perry? Is he an athlete?
Well, football is very different than golf. It's a very physical sport activity. It's a very different.
You
than
could
golf.
argue that a center just hikes the ball,
Well,
stands up.
I
and
can tell you right
blocks.
now, Donald Trump.
If it's not a polling blocking scheme, there isn't a lot of athletic moves. And a
that's
lot of those
fine.
guys aren't in the best shape.
Donald Trump,
But they match what's necessary for the sport to be successful.
Donald Trump was not in the NFL last I
You're right,
understand.
he was not.
The only thing he's ever done in his life, and he still does it quite a bit, actually, a lot more than Barack Obama, and that is play golf with a cart. So, and he, by the way, drives up his cart right on the fringe, right next to the green.
He plays golf twice a week, from what I understand, or at least once a week.
God, the stamina.
And that's.
Oh,
I'm
man.
not suggesting that that's.
No, I am. I mean,
but
the
that's
stamina of being able to sit in the,
He does that.
People that are 95 years old
To
play more
stay-
golf
to-
than
to
Donald Trump.
stay
That
in
means
shape.
nothing. People that are 100 years
I thought
old.
he was playing too much golf.
Well, he's
So now
the
he's
one
not playing enough golf.
So he's the
So
one.
which is it? Whichever one you can do to attack
let me
him
know what
is which one it is.
Okay, well, let me know when I can answer.
Okay, you can answer.
Donald Trump was the one that complained about Barack Obama playing too much golf. If you recall, he did it a lot. And he also said when he becomes president, he's not going to have time to play golf. Donald Trump has already played more golf, actually more than twice the amount of golf that Barack Obama played in 8 years. Donald Trump has done it in 3.5 years. I think the president should be allowed to have fun. I think the president should be allowed to play golf once in a while. But what you cannot do, and what the president does all the time, is he's criticized others in their lives, and he's done the exact same thing. That is what Donald Trump has done, and that is why I'm attacking him for that. Don't attack Barack Obama and criticize him for all the golf that he's played when you've played twice as much golf in less than half the amount of time. That is why I attack the President of the United States when it comes to these types of issues. Do I think it's out of the realm?
Has he attacked him lately?
What
No.
does it matter whether
No,
he's
he attacked?
What do you
him,
mean? Has he attacked him lately?
He attacked him before he became president.
What does
of the
that
United States.
matter? Whether he attacked him 3 years ago or now. The point I'm trying to make is you're attacking somebody, a past president, for doing the same things you've done.